Hi, Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com. This will be an interesting video, I hope. I want to share with you a sort of a day in the life of my practice, my Tai Chi practice. The video might go on a little bit long, but we'll see. I'm going to try to keep it interesting. I've got some notes so I don't have to repeat myself too much, and I'll cover some interesting topics, I think, as I go. I just want to say I might run out of batteries on my camera, so I may have to do a fade in, fade out at some point when I see that little red light go off. Okay, so in general, my name is Gene Burnett. I'm a Tai Chi teacher. I live in Ashland, Oregon. I've been studying Tai Chi since 1984, which is 35 years ago. I've done a little bit of non-classical Kung Fu basic stuff in the last couple years, Jesse Glover's thing. And I've done some yoga, and I'm a singer-songwriter, and I post a lot of videos. If you know me already, you know that. But if you're new to this channel, I post a lot of videos, music videos, Tai Chi videos, nature videos, generally with just the intent of being helpful. It's not obviously a very big channel. Anyway, so generally I have been dealing with some low back, sacrum, hip issues on and off ever since I can remember as a little kid. It may have come from a time I fell out of a tree and landed on my back when I was 6 or 7, maybe genetic, but I failed a physical when I was 19 to be a hospital orderly. They told me I would be prone to back problems, and because of blah, 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 and it was some term I'd never heard of. And the nurse who was brought me that information, this was in a hospital. I was applying to be an orderly, and she told me, let's look it up, you know. So we looked it up in some medical book, and it said something about 2 vertebrae overlapping each other, and being usually genetic, so it could be genetic. But I've always had issues when I'm sitting to standing, and just a weakness in my overall feeling of connectedness down there. It comes and goes. Every once in a while my back will really go out, and about 7 or 8 years ago it went out badly, and it took about a week before I could even just stand up straight. And then just a few months ago it went out in a minor way. I hurt a little bit, and then it got better in a week or so, and then just a week ago or so it happened again. And so not as bad as each time. It's not as bad as the previous time, but it really makes me, it locks my hips in a tuck position, and it just says, don't move, we're going to heal this. And so there's that. And then I've been noticing some also stiffness around the right hip SI joint area. I can't quite tell if it's inside the socket or out, but it's a certain amount of stiffness in there. Now meanwhile, parallel to all this, I've been doing a lot more walking in my practice. I've been doing a lot of strength training in the last few years, at least for me, being a 62-year-old guy, a lot more push-ups, pull-ups, fitness kind of targets and stuff, and the punching, and the walking, and especially in the last, I don't know, year or so, just putting a lot of attention on structure and posture, like going into the last portion of my life. I just realized even more than I have all these years. Posture, 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 very important. So especially balance. You know, I do a lot of one-leg balancing stuff and kicks and stuff in the Tai Chi, and I realized that my balance wasn't as strong as I wanted it to be. I had a badly sprained right ankle when I was a kid, and it's never quite set right, but I do my best, and that led me to working with a wobble board, like putting more stress on the ankle in a way, because I feel like when if I want something stronger, I have to put pressure on it by backing off and just being comfortable, unless I'm injuring it. I have to be careful to make sure I'm not injuring it, but if I want it to be stronger, I've got to put pressure on it. So that was great. The wobble board turned out to be great, and I came up with this little game of throwing cards into a hat while I'm on the wobble board to make it interesting enough for my little gerbil brain, or squirrel brain, to stand there on the wobble board. So I throw cards into the hat while I'm standing on a wobble board, and it led me to the limbs, zero drop shoe, best shoe I've ever had, best Tai Chi shoe ever. It's all I wear. Primal 2s. They're minimalist shoes, and led me to a lot more attention to posture and tucking my hips more and lifting my chest more and being more open and more upright. And so, I've been in the backdrop, been working on all this stuff, and then when this injury comes, or this stiffness in my hip comes, I tend to think, well, my message to an injured area is essentially, I will not overload you, I will not overwork you, I will not make your injury worse, but I will load you with as much as you can take, and that pressure, that load on this injured area is only going to increase, so get used to it. Don't shrink back. We're going forward from this. That's the experiment, right? That's what I do every time I have an injury now. I go forward with it. And if I encounter resistance in the form of the injury getting worse, then I know I'm overloading it and I back off, back off, back off. But I really haven't had to. It's really worked for me anyway to go forward through these things. So that's what I've been doing with this. Doing as much walking, as much of my fitness targets, as much of my Bagua and Tai Chi and bodywork practice and everything I do, as much as I can with this, both the low back, maybe right around L4 or 5, sacroiliac joint, also to this hip thing, and just the sacroiliac joint in general. As this area has been reorganizing, I think, that's my hope, it's had some painful, adjustments, and I'm just going ahead and doing everything that I normally do, putting that amount of energy into what I'm doing, that I'm loading it, but not overloading it. And so I go out there even when I'm tender and even when I'm sore, and I work the alignment, and I work those things, and that's just kind of that's where I'm at in general. So this morning I get up and I have a little fitness note card that I keep with me. I transfer this to my computer every day. But there's columns, and there's push-ups, pull-ups, straight punches, or any kind of punch, ab rolls, handstands, bounces, which is you get on a springy leg and you bounce like that with all your weight 100% on one leg. It sounds easy, but it's not. Planks, minute planks, and then hand squeeze, and air squats. I like to do those too. So I have a daily target every day of minimum that I would like to do. It's not a hard goal, it's just a target. So 50 push-ups, 10 pull-ups, 1,000 punches, 10 ab rolls, 3 handstands, 500 bounces each leg, at least one minute plank, 200 of those hand squeezes, and 30 air squats. That's not terrible, but not hard, not super hard. But for me at 62, these are reasonable targets. Today I'm way over everything. So I started the day with my regular targets. I like to put something on, some hash marks in this before I leave the house. So I probably did, 20 or 30 or 40 push-ups. I probably did 5 pull-ups on the way out in the morning, and I probably threw a few hundred punches in the morning, and did some ab rolls as far as I could go. I can't go all the way out like I usually do. I did a few handstands. I did some bounces. I did 1 plank. I did the hand squeezes, and I did some air squats. So I got at least a little something in all my targets. I went out, went to the kitchen, did my quick smoothie, head out. I'm often a little bit late out of the house, so I was a little bit late leaving. I leave the house, I get down to the bandshell where I teach, and my student didn't show for one reason or the other. Either he showed and left. I don't think so, though. He's the type who would wait, and I didn't have a lesson after him, so we could have gone on for a while anyway. But it doesn't matter. Learned a lesson there. Punctuality pays. But anyway, we have a good relationship, and that's not going to be a problem. But anyway, so I thought, well, I'm going to hang out and practice for a while. So one thing that I've been noticing with this lifting the chest thing and elongating the spine and making space in the body is that, man, you can be not doing it and thinking that you're doing it, or I can be not doing it or not doing it as much as I think I'm doing. So I wanted to make a video, a separate video on this subject. So I'm going to make that right now and edit it out later. So if you're watching this video, you don't have to watch that other video, because here it comes. Hi, Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com, and I'm recommending that you videotape your there's no tape, video your practice, and then watch it later and see what it looks like for you to practice. I recommend that you don't think of it as a performance. Don't think this is a video I'm going to post on YouTube for all time so that they can see how great I am. Just don't be on your best behavior. Don't be trying to think, how perfect can I do this? Just set up a camera or your phone or whatever and just have a regular practice, just a regular thing that you do. Not thinking about the camera or whatever. Just run through a form or two and then take it and just watch and see what you can learn from it. Because I did a Bagua practice walking around this circle that I like to walk on in this one corner of my favorite little park, and I was thinking about posting it just like Bagua practice, just to share. And when I got home and I watched it, I was like, oh my God, I'm not sharing this not because I can do it better, but because it's not a good example of this, and somebody might actually imitate this. Is terrible, but not terrible. But I was definitely not. I was kind of in positions like this a lot, and I really want to work on that elongating. Now that I have these things I'm working with, this like helps immediately, like it, and opening up my hips in certain ways. It's like it helps it makes the whole SI hip joint thing feel better. It may be a little tender at first sometimes with some of the movements, but wow, it's definitely on the good side. So I've been, I looked at that and I thought, oh man, I got to really, it was another level of lifting here and not caving in here, not puffing it out, but just like restrained but up. And the main thing for me is elongate the spine. I know I'm not going to go this far for the rest of my life, but I'm exceptionally working on it now because I really want to lengthen and straighten things out a little bit so that I can rest into that a little easier without going into bad patterns. I need to strengthen my core and my spine, because the core connects, connects through your legs to the ground, and then that also core connects through the shoulders and arms. So if these and this and the legs are disconnected in any way, then your power is, lessened. So videotape or video, it's hard to get tape out of your vocabulary. Video your practice and look at it, and you'll learn all kinds of stuff about your form and your stuff that you probably didn't know. So if you like this kind of thing, please subscribe to this channel and or visit GeneBurnett.com. Thanks for watching. Okay, so you don't have to watch that one because you just saw it. So anyway, this is what I'm doing. One of the things I learned from that video is that lift. So I get out there and I realize that my student's not going to show up. So I hit some more fitness targets. I did some more push-ups. I did a plank. I did some handstands. I did a lot of bounces. Did some qigong. Did some warm-ups and stuff. And then I did half of the long form that we do in our system. We have a 6-section long form. It's because it's mirror image, so 1 and 6 mirror themselves inside the section. 2 and 3 are mirror images of each other. 4 and 5 are mirror images of each other. So if you do 1, 2, 5, 6, like I did today, I'm just leaving out 2 mirror image sections in the middle. I'm not leaving out any actual movements. I'm just leaving out left and right versions. So anyway, I did half that long form with just a lot of attention to very slow, checking constantly, my connection to the ground, sitting into the hips, long spine, really slow and careful, and really keeping my core, solid, and letting my arms come off of that rather than being too loosey-goosey in the middle. And that was really great. That felt really good to run through the whole long form that way. And I got in 300 bounces because I do those in between the sections of the forms, and that just felt really great. So another thing I like to do is do this little bike loop where I ride up above the park that I teach at, right around the back and down. It's not a terrible, hard, tough hill, but it's a bit of work. It really got my attention when I first did it. I've done it hundreds of times, and I like to do it at least once a week now. And I just want to be able to ride uphill. I want to be able to ride uphill on my own and not feel like I'm dying. So this is good preparation for that, right? Just do it. So so I did that loop, which felt great. Today, sometimes I like to count my pedals and really connect to my breathing. So I did that today. I was counting the whole way. It just felt really good, steady and even, and got myself through the bike loop, and then down to back down to where we live. But on the way there, I stopped at the our food co-op and bought some food and got home and had some lunch and checked in with my non-classical Kung Fu buddies. We have a plan on Mondays to punch at 5 o'clock, work with some pad work, but they were both unable to come, so I could take a little bit of a nap and rest. So then I got up, and my plan was to go out for an evening sort of practice walk, which is a little different from the more from the type of practice that I do in the morning. Like this today, because I didn't have anybody to teach, I did a very methodical, very form-oriented, very structure and posture-oriented version of the form. And so I get ready to go out for my evening practice. So I make some twig tea, and I get some clothing layers, put them in my pack. You know, I get my, you know, because you never know. It could rain, sun, not sun. It was in the evening, but you never know. The weather can do things in Oregon. So I bring layers in case I get too cold, too wet, too dry, too whatever, and pack up my stuff. And I'll be honest with you. Take a hit of weed on the way out. Really helps me connect to my practice muse out there and be a little less structured in my practice. And then I did 5 more pull-ups on the way out. Went out walking at a pretty vigorous pace out to this park where I like to do bagua, where I videoed myself doing bagua. And I'm walking and I'm thinking about long spine, and I'm thinking about my hips and my posture and a nice even distribution of force and flow in the walk. It's not unconscious walking when I do this. I walk very consciously. And that feels really good, even when my hips are bugging me or my SI is bugging me. As long as it's not in the acute stage of a low back disc thing or something, I can walk, and it ends up feeling better. So it's a great walk. And I walked over to that park, to that place where I like to do bagua. It also has a pull-up bar, so like as soon as I got there, I sort of check out the sunset and really just kind of there's a nice view of the valley from up there. And then I did another 5 pull-ups, and I went to the bagua spot, and I circled there, and I started really slow, and I worked kind of similar to the morning, like every position, every weight shift, pausing, long spine, lift the chest, open, turn, keep the core connected. I didn't do it systematically all the way. I didn't do every single palm change I knew or every hand position. I just did what I felt like doing, but the ones I felt like doing I really looked at and broke down, and just from doing that, I found 2 major things that really, really improved my balance and stability and potential flow in the bagua palm changes. So I just listened. I went really, really slow. I get to each position and I kind of check, is this tender anywhere is there something I can open or close that will make this feel better and more harmonious and more balanced and more comfortable, more especially if I'm on one leg, more balanced, you know. And so I did that, and found a couple of major things that are going to be part of my practice that are really great and help me a lot in my balance. And then I walked down this long, gentle, sloping path down to the park below the park that I like. Walked all the way around there. I found a batting cage that I had previously overlooked, and I went in there and I did a few practice motions, but I realized, man, when you throw off a rubber, man, it's a rectangle this big, and there was like a hole right in front of it. This was not a mound, like where mound went right up to the rubber. I guess from kids landing there and punching it kind of dug a little hole, so you had to really balance on this thing. And I thought, maybe I'll buy a piece of that, just a piece of wood that dimensions, and see if I can just use it as a balance tool for my wind-up at home. So, little things like that. And then I continued back up this very steep walking hill. It's like 200 steps if I count them, up this steep hill that I gradually walk down, but then I walk steep up, and I end up right back at the same little park. And I went in there and did another 5 pull-ups. So I was up to let's say 15 since I left the house. And then I found this little spot where a couple of sidewalks converge and you have a nice view of the valley, kind of the other end from the Bagua place. Kind of a Qigong spot for me. And I did kind of a little loose version of this freestyle workout that I came up with, where I spend the first part of it suspending my joints and really just moving from my core and letting my joints suspend like they were floating in water or hanging from strings, even better, like I was a lead puppet. And I did a lot of that on one leg, and with this emphasis of the long spine and really cementing my alignment to my center line. We went to a free movie show last night that featured all these great dance numbers from the golden days of Hollywood, like Fred and Ginger and Gene Kelly and all these great dancers, and it was great to watch just their cores, because they're so stable. I mean, they're just so solid in here. Not a lot of wiggling, and especially Ginger Rogers. Wow. And then I go into various Tai Chi movements, just doing them not free form, but like in random order. And today I was working on something that's similar to what I do when I hit the pads, when I have some of this sacral low back stuff going on, is I don't go for intensity that throws a lot of force through my skeleton. I go for form and a kind of accuracy and a kind of heavy, smooth, even, solid, relaxed hit, rather than putting something into it, because I know my body isn't ready for that intensity to go through the system, but I can work the system nevertheless. So tonight when I did the forms section of my freestyle warm-up, I did all my forms as though I was just really heavy, and I was just weighed 300 pounds, and every movement I did was just solid, not fast, but solid, like George Foreman, And then I did the progression is suspend the joints, very in, but a lot of work in the core, especially if you do it on one leg. Then some form stuff, random form stuff, which kind of takes you back into structure a little more. And then some expressive stuff or explorative stuff. I tried to do a few tango steps out there, but it just didn't feel right. The ground was too uneven, the sidewalk's too uneven, and it's too rough. So I just did some explorative stretches, trying to see what would happen if I kept my core, my chest lifted and my core upright, and let my arms just kind of swing and suspend off of that. So I kept this here, and then I would just let my arms express what my core was doing, and it was just nice acknowledgement again that I'm on the right track here, because my hips were feeling better, my sacrum was feeling better, everything was like, oh good, this is nice, this is less tender than when I started. And then the last part of it is just to do some striking. So I did these Wing Chun type chain punches. I did 1,000 of those straight for the first time ever, which was pretty cool. Usually I do them in sets of 200, like that, and with various footwork and changing feet and stuff, and as we do in non-classical Kung Fu. And I did 1,000 straight, which was nice. Usually I do sets of 200, but 1,000 all at once without stopping was a little minor milestone for me. And again, all with the upright stuff. And then I did a brisk, I did 5, let's see, I took a brisk walk home, took me maybe 5-10 minutes walking with purpose, and did 5 more pull-ups as I was coming in, so that's 20, 30 for the day. Part of my practice is teaching, and part of my practice is sharing what I learn in my own practice in the hope that it might be helpful. So part of my practice is making this video. Another part of my practice is doing the dishes. I've done the dishes every day for going on, I think 9 years, 2,872 days in a row of doing the dishes and taking a picture of the dishes. Oh man. If you search I'll Do the Dishes Tonight, Gene Burnett, on YouTube, you might find my song about doing that, and there's a link in there to my Flickr gallery where I have all these pictures, all 2,872 of them. Anyway, earlier today I did the dishes, at least as they were at that point. I've still got more to do and add to the pile, so that was part of my practice too. So, got in a lot of everything. I haven't seen very much of my wife today, so I think after a little bit I'm going to be in for some foot rub practice and maybe some reading aloud practice. And then later on tonight I'm hoping to get back in here and do some work on some lyrics. So for future songs. So you can see, you know, a lot of practice. I ended up doing 110 push-ups today so far, 30 pull-ups, 2,000 punches, 10 ab rolls, as far as I could go. I did 4 handstands, 600 bounces, 3 planks, 200 hand squeezes, and 40 air squats. So not too bad. I got over my minimum with all my stuff. I got in some good explorative stuff. I got in some good, really highly structured stuff. And all in all, a really good practice day. Other days, my practice will be 90% teaching and energy going out. I'll be singing and running an open mic and teaching 4 or 5 lessons that day and helping people out, or interacting in some way that's more give and take. Today just happened to be one of those days where the practice just fell, and this time opened up, and there, I took advantage of it and did all the things that I love to do in my practice in one day. So I just wanted to share that and say that's what my practice is like. I hope you have similar days where you're able to follow your practice muse in one way or the other and do not only a structured, organized practice that you were taught, but also a personal, less organized, explorative finding for yourself what can open or what can close or what needs a little more pressure or more strengthening or more relaxing to find a balanced and harmonious state, one that reflects your practice goals and your training. So I find I really love it when I can get that all in one day. I have attention to structure now in everything I'm doing because that's just my seasonal sort of practice emphasis. But within that, I can apply that to really codified kind of form work, or I can apply that to improvisational stuff. I'm still trying to keep this. I'm still trying to make space in my spine, so my low back is free from that extra pressure, and maybe whatever is misaligned in there can find its way to a better place. So that's my hope, and it seems to be working, fingers crossed, so far. If the experiment doesn't work out, I will back off or try some other form of addressing it. If you like this kind of thing, please subscribe to this channel. I put out a lot of videos, music, Tai Chi, and other kind of stuff, nature stuff. I'm just trying to be helpful and share some good news in the world, maybe. And I have a PayPal donation link down below if you feel like giving me a little tip sometime. That would be much appreciated, but certainly not expected. Also, GeneBurnett.com is my website with some more information on me and my books and stuff that I do. Thanks for watching.